What do you make of all this?
Well, I think it's disappointing, but we can describe this as the new normal in Europe.
Action Gel, you can finally banish garden weeds without harming precious plants nearby. So draw the line. Just give the stick one click, touch the leaves, and the gel stays put, killing garden weeds to the root with pinpoint precision. Draw the line.
We do have some numbers coming in right now in Georgia's 6th district, where, as we mentioned earlier, they are facing off in a very high-stakes special election. This is for the seat that Tom Price left open when he went to work at HHS. And here's how the numbers look so far. You have 51.4% for Karen Handel and 48.6% for Jon Ossoff. And keep in mind, these are just the very early numbers, because we expect, according to the predictions, to get to 230, 240,000 votes is what's projected. We'll see how many actually come in. But that is part of the story right now. Let's go live to Atlanta, where Steve Harrigan is standing by at Karen Handel's headquarters. How are they feeling about things there?
Martha, they're feeling very excited about things here. We can really hear the buzz in this crowd of Karen Handel supporters pick up just over the last few minutes. Handel was out there in the rain today campaigning, taking a final shot at her opponent, Jon Ossoff. She said while she can go and vote in this district, Ossoff can't. That's because, of course, the 30-year-old doesn't live in this district. A few factors could be key to this election. 50,000 new voters since the first time people voted in this race in April. Both sides claiming that helps them. Also, a steady downpour throughout the day and some tough traffic problems. No sign on how that will affect turnout. And keep in mind, too, this is a district with an incredibly high rate of college graduates among voters. It went big for Mitt Romney. Just 2% win for Donald Trump, though, so this could be a real nail-biter. But the excitement, the energy here has grown in just the past few minutes. Martha, back to you.
All right, Steve Harrigan on the scene. Thank you very much, Steve. We'll go back to you as the numbers come in tonight. So a longtime staple of a community park deemed unconstitutional, a judge ruling that a cross that's been on the grounds of Bayview Park in Pensacola, Florida for decades must be removed. The judge noting in his ruling, quote, "I am aware that there is a lot of support in Pensacola to keep the cross as is, and I understand and respect that point of view, but the law is the law." That order cheered by attorneys for the plaintiffs who had argued the cross should not be allowed to stand on public grounds.
It's a giant Christian symbol on city property. The city maintains this symbol as its own, and it sends a message to non-Christian citizens that they're not welcome in this community and that they're less favored by the government than Christian counterparts.
So that's the argument. Here now, former Arkansas governor and Fox News contributor Mike Huckabee. Governor, good to see you tonight. Your reaction to this story?
Well, it's absurd. Four people in Pensacola said that they had a problem with this. Tens of thousands of people have enjoyed the fact that it's there and they've seen it. They haven't been offended by it. And this is one of those just irrational decisions for the court. I think the judge felt he was in a box on it. But let me ask you this, Martha. I mean, if this cross in Pensacola is somehow offensive to the point that people can't even go by there without being overwhelmed with religion, then tell me, when are we going to take all the crosses down at Arlington National Cemetery? Because it's filled with crosses. It's filled with religious symbols. In some cases, it may be the Star of David, but those are all religious symbols. When will those come down? Is that not offensive? This is absurd. We are a nation that has freedom of religion, not freedom from religion, but that's what some of these folks, they want. It's not that they really are offended. They just can't stand the fact that there are some people who believe in God.
And they work very hard at it, these individuals, to sort of seek out these cases so that they can make their mark on them. They're from the American Humanist Association. And as you say, there were 4 people who brought the case. 2 of them have since moved to Canada. They don't even live in the area anymore. So you're down to 2 people who are claiming to be offended by this cross, and we're looking at the pictures of it. It's been there for 75 years. As that attorney said, it has been maintained by the town, and that's where the legal problem lies. I was talking to Alan Dershowitz about this before, and he heard us tease that this story was coming up. He said, I wish I could stick around and talk to my friend Governor Huckabee about this, because we always, have these heated arguments, but we're good friends on this issue. But he said, because it's on public property, that's the law. And the judge in this case was appointed, he's a Reagan appointee, and he basically, sort of was aggrieved at the fact that he had to find that finding, but he said it is backed by the law.
One solution would be that the city would deed the property over to a private foundation and make it so that it no longer is owned and maintained by the taxpayers. I think that's absurd, because we have so many different expressions that really aren't offensive. And you mentioned these 2 people that moved to Canada. Maybe they need to put up another cross and get rid of the other 2 people and then be done with it when they move out of the United States. But I just think that the ultimate solution, let the city deed this over to a private entity, and maybe these folks won't be so overwhelmed by the offense of the presence of that statue. It's
too bad they didn't do that, and maybe it will be saved by someone who's willing to put it on a private piece of property, because that would make a difference legally, according to the argument that we're seeing here. Governor, thank you very much. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Martha. Great to talk.
So free speech under attack on college campuses, as you well know. A powerful quote of the night from fascinating testimony on Capitol Hill today, right after this.
I work overtime when I can get it. Need my blood sugar.
And tonight, here are the latest numbers in the House race in Georgia. Take a look. Karen Handel at this point at 51.4. Jon Ossoff at 48.6. She's got 37,000 and change. She's got 35 and change. It is early, and there are still a lot of votes to come in there. Live coverage throughout the evening on that tonight. So today, the Senate Judiciary Committee held a hearing on free speech on our college campuses. Zachary Wood, a junior, spoke eloquently about his concerns and his education at the #1 ranked liberal arts college in our country, Williams College, which, by the way, costs $52,000 a year. Here's Zachary.
In my time at Williams, I cannot name a single conservative speaker that has been brought to campus by the administration. This fact is problematic precisely because the overwhelming majority of students at Williams have liberal beliefs. This adds to what many commentators have referred to as the echo chamber. In classrooms, liberal arguments are often treated as unquestionable truths. In some cases, conservative students even feel the need to refrain from stating their opinion in fear of being shut down. I appreciate the desire of my administration to ensure that all students on campus feel included. Yet I deplore the state of free speech and intellectual freedom on my college campus.
Fascinating. He's looking for an education. He wants to hear both sides. He's a brave young man.
Well, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. The much-hyped special election in Georgia's 6th congressional district has arrived. With all the overwrought fanfare of a political moon landing, a nationwide superlative contest, and who can resist those, is on full swing on cable news tonight. Just how important is this special election? According to the people you're watching, it's literally everything. It's the definitive referendum on Donald Trump. It's D-Day for Trump. It's Trump's last stand. Okay. Deep breath, please. It is true this election is partly about Donald Trump, and you can tell from the fundraising numbers, which are huge. This is the most expensive congressional race in American history. Almost all that money has come from angry liberals who live out of state. Marin County, Beverly Hills, Martha's Vineyard, that's who's paying for this contest. Democrat Jon Ossoff has outraised his opponent fully 7-1. Now, he's running in a suburban district that voted only narrowly for Donald Trump back in November. His opponent, the Republican Karen Handel, may be a remarkably impressive person, but she has shown no signs of that so far. In other words, this should not be close. Ossoff ought to be running away with it, but as of right now, he's not. He may still win, but not by a huge margin. Why is that? Because Democrats still literally have no idea why they keep losing elections. If they did, they would have run a real candidate with a real job who understands the constituents he is attempting to represent. Instead, Democrats put up a 30-year-old semi-employed documentary filmmaker who can't even vote for himself because he doesn't live in the district. He's got a ton of trendy rich people positions on just about every topic. The abortion people love him. He's gravely concerned about climate and childhood obesity and the availability of organic kale. He thinks illegal aliens are noble. He went to the London School of Economics. He's super fit and way smarter than you are. We could go on and on. You've seen it all before. That's the point. Voters have seen it before, too. And outside of Brooklyn and the west side of LA, they're not that into it. That's why Democrats keep losing. Why is it so hard for the left to find candidates who run on issues that voters actually, demonstrably care about? Joining us with the answer, his sage view anyway, is Brit Hume. He is, of course, Fox's senior political analyst. So, Brit, it seems to me that this ought to be a much wider spread than we're looking at.
Well, remember this, though, Tucker. This is Newt Gingrich's own district. This is a very Republican district. And Tom Price, who is now the HHS secretary, whose seat this was, won the last time out by 24 percentage points. So while his margins over a period of time have shrunk, the last one was pretty big. So this is Republican country, and all of the things being equal, you would expect a relatively easy Republican victory. But all of the things, of course, are not equal. We have a highly controversial president
not at all.
Now sporting a 36% approval rate, and we have Republicans in Congress whom this candidate, Karen Handel, would like to join, who have so far been unable to pass any of the major things that they promised. So this is not the most opportune moment to be running for election to the House of Representatives as a Republican. And Ossoff, as you noted, has attracted a great deal of money. In fact, you know, you mentioned, Tucker, that that this is the most expensive race. It is like way the most expensive race. The nearest one, this one cost about $50 million, in excess of $50 million. The most expensive one before this was 5 years ago, and it was only about $30 million. So we are in the stratosphere here.
So you've got a president under 40%, a suburban district, and suburban Atlanta is changing, and these are basically pretty affluent voters who trend Democrat increasingly. You've got a Congress that's wildly unpopular. The Republicans control it. You can't tell me if the Democrats hadn't put up someone closer to the mold of Jim Webb, maybe a populist in economics, maybe not so far left on the social issues. Why wouldn't they be? I mean, why would there even be a race? I mean, despite the fact this is historically that Tom Price carried it, but why didn't they put up a candidate?
Well, one wonders why. It's a good question. I guess there are people in this country and in the Democratic Party that look at a guy like Jon Ossoff and say, hey, he's pretty cool. Documentary filmmaker, young, presents a new image for the party. He's been running, Tucker, on fiscal issues as a conservative. He's worried about government spending, he says. So he has tried, after starting out as kind of a lefty, to tailor himself more to the past preferences of this district. And I suppose you could argue that he's run a decent race. Obviously, it's close. He may yet win it. The consequences of it, though, Tucker, I think, are what have been exaggerated.
What do you mean by that?
Well, this is being fought.